fellow Ambazonians, dear countrymen, despite the hike in targeted summary execution of our innocent people by Paul Biya's killer squads, I still believe we are now at the twilight of our political daybreak, emptying the combined worth and wealth of a lifetime fortune into the country of our collective dream.
A place we can surely call home.
At last, my people, the wind of total liberation is sweeping through Ambazonia, our priceless inheritance.
The land of our forebears.
A place we can surely call home.
A few years ago, a vicious dictator declared war on our sovereign nation of Ambazonia. It is a war we did not seek nor provoke, but are determined to muster every strength we can harness and continue sending the message to our enemy that we have risen to call home.
We have paid dues for everything. We pay tax for goods we buy. We pay fuel in our cars. We pay hospital bills and the dues for all other sacrifices.
I can give all I have for the one hope that I have.
Because I paid my CID and achieved proudly Ambazonia.
Let's get it straight. The freedom of Ambazonia will not depend on the free will of our enemies.
Independence will be but days away if we get it right with our CID.
My dear comrades, I am appealing to every Ambazonian to register with the CID program.
We have no control over our distorted history, but with our CID, we can set the pace and determine the future of Ambazonia.
Yes, the hope for the future is in our hands. As an Ambazonian, my identity is conclusive. My right is guaranteed. My vote will always count as I pay my CID.
As an Ambazonian, I will shape the future with my CID.
With your CID of just $10 per month, the interim government is contract to fulfill all that you wish to be done.
Let us build a freedom mansion from the little block, which is our CID levy.
There will be food for everyone, hope for every child, justice for every citizen when we pay our CID levy.
Yes, the dream we can realize. With my compulsory independence dues, CID, I have the opportunity to give to the next generation a greater nation, better than we inherited.
Yes, CID program is freedom made easy, freedom made cheap, freedom for Ambazonia now.
This is the People's Television, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless. Bringing the state of the struggle on your fingertips. Unmasking the genocide in Ambazonia. Reporting first-hand untold stories from Africa. Donate to ABC Amba TV every day. We the people must control the narrative. Internationalize the struggle, keep Ground Zero abreast and win the war. Cash App 240-486-8768. Hashtag $AmbaABC. Zelle, donations at ambazoniafoundation.org. PayPal, support@abcambath.com. Thank you.
Don't you hate it when that happens to you? when it does, you need this, and this, and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems.
Good evening, fellow Amazonians. Welcome. This is the spokesperson's time to talk on your national. We want to start. Apologize for the late start. It was due to some technical issues which have just been resolved. And also, we understand there was an interesting discussion that was taking place. And we believe Amazonians have learned some things. Some have been informed, some have been misinformed. And with the permission of things, I would like to start by commenting on what some of the panelists of Fritz program were talking about. I want to first of all thank Fritz for his comeback on ABC Amba TV initiative to our interesting discussions. And the most important part of it is we are in a nation, an Amazonian nation, where there is a clear freedom of speech. It is unfortunate that the same people that would want to castigate the leadership that is not tolerating freedom of speech have the chance to criticize. I may be starting from bottom top by saying that we of a great level of dishonesty from Dr. Epa. It appears that he is of the Restoration Council and demonstrating so much dishonesty. What Dr. Epa denied to say in whatever he was trying to narrate to the people is the fact that the Restoration Council failed to instill discipline by sending back, no matter what the explanation gave, by sending back Mr. Arnold to the Ethics Commission, where he was supposed to be processed, and if not successful, he could go to the Restoration Council. The next thing Dr. Epa denied telling the people is the fact that the president, during his end of year address to the nation, was merely reacting to the misconduct of the Restoration Council and certain, especially the leadership. The leadership was making assertions unconstitutional. I'm glad certain individuals of the panel of Fritz Misodi acknowledged that whatever the Restoration Council was cooking or is cooking is unconstitutional, and Dr. Epa dodged from it. According to Dr. Epa, the president of the Federal Republic of Amazonia was supposed to stay quiet and not react to unscrupulous behavior, and that is unfortunate. Well, I didn't plan to react to this. What I thought was interested was for us to come and take your questions, the spokesperson taking your questions. And since we have taken so much time, the spokesperson has a briefing and most probably maybe an announcement, or he may want to postpone his announcement. I will find out if he is connected, and if he is connected, I wish to say good evening, Barrister Fru. If you're there, let me hear you, please.
Yes, buddy, I'm here, finally.
Okay, thank you. I want to apologize on behalf of our technical team for the delay that you have witnessed so far. We hope that as we move on, we're trying to do some restructuring. As we move on, there will be improvement. Thank you very much for your patience. You've been waiting behind the scene for more than an hour. Thank you. That only shows your passion to serve your people amidst your busy schedule. Good evening and welcome once again. Maybe you want to talk to the people now.
Thank you very much, buddy. Thank you very much. My dear Ambazonians, dear compatriots, I am very sorry for the late start. I know some of you, particularly in Ground Zero, are about to go to bed, and also in Europe and other parts of the world where the time is a factor. Please, I crave your indulgence to sit up and listen to me. The ABC belongs to the Ambazonian people, and the government is serving the Ambazonian people. When the government has an announcement or something to say to the people of Ambazonia, it should take priority on ABC. Having said that, my dear compatriots, for today I have one important announcement, and the other important announcements will be coming subsequently as the days ahead will permit. The first announcement is the President, Head of State, Commander-in-Chief of the Ambazonian Armed Forces, Dr. Ekome Sako, has announced the convening of Ambazonia Strategic Stakeholders Conference to hold in Washington, D.C. from the 10th of March to the 13th of March. That's 4 days in Washington, D.C. As we speak, an organizing committee is being put in place, and it will be announced subsequently. All the modalities of delegates coming all over the world will be communicated to you in the days ahead. That conference, it's a very, very important strategic conference. Just like Berlin 1, this one will be termed Berlin 2, but it's holding in Washington, D.C. Again, on the 10th to the 13th of March 2022. That is the big announcement. All Ambazonians will get together and sort all the problems that are plaguing this struggle on that day. In the meantime, the government will continue to function, the government apparatus will continue to run, all government decisions will continue to be taken until that conference day, and whatever comes out of that conference, I can assure you the government will implement it. The interim government. Secondly, this coming Sunday is the beginning of the African Nations Cup in La République du Cameroon. I repeat myself. This Sunday, the 9th, will be the beginning of the African Nations Cup in La République du Cameroon. La République du Cameroon were given the right to organize that tournament. It did not include the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. La République du Cameroon, the colonial occupiers of the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, decided that our beautiful seashore city of Victoria, whom they named Limbe, will be hosting some part of the tournament. La République is at war with the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, and that war is fought from Limbe to Kambe. For anybody who does not know, that is a serious war zone. And the Ambazonian Restoration Forces will attack La République forces both in uniform and out of uniform, on our territory because they have overtly violated the territorial integrity of the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. From the information we have, they are occupying from the boundary, which is the Mongo Bridge, right up to Boya, down to Limbe, everywhere, Tiko, Motengene, Boya, Limbe is occupied by La République colonial forces. I take this opportunity to announce that that is high-class provocation, and it will be met with forces from our Ambazonia Restoration Forces. We are only afraid that there will be collateral damages. Therefore, nobody, as I announced last time, the border between La République du Cameroun from Douala is the Mongo Bridge. As soon as you cross the Mongo Bridge, you have Fako, where Victoria is, and that is the Southern Cameroons. Those borders have been closing the 3rd of January this year. Anybody, and that includes transporters, private cars, and military. Anybody violating that law that was announced on this television on the for the closure of that borders from the 3rd of January will have himself to blame. I know that you will say, oh, since the 3rd we have been crossing. Fine. But this is war. You don't know when and how it will meet you. I am taking again once more the opportunity to inform all those countries who have invaded our territory in the name of football to know that anything that happens to them, because that's a war zone, anything, any collateral damage that involves them, the Federal Republic of Ambazonia will take no responsibility. The responsibility will fall on FIFA, CAF, and La République du Cameroon for accepting to play that what they call African Nations Cup in a war zone where we are at war with La République du Cameroon. That is itself a provocation coming from CAF and the FIFA. I would not so much blame FIFA because FIFA had asked that this tournament be cancelled. But CAF, run by a certain man from South Africa, decided to violate the territorial integrity of the Southern Cameroon. We will meet fire with fire. You still have 2 days to reschedule your matches in La République du Cameroon, where you gave the rights to host. What does that mean? What CAF has done means that man who is the president of CAF endorses the war that La République unleashed on our people. Therefore, he himself is an enemy. I cannot understand, with all the efforts of trying to prevent Africans not to get caught up in the line of fire, Mr. CAF president is not listening. He has not listened to FIFA and will not listen to poor fighting Africans like the people of the Southern Cameroons and Ambazonia. It's regrettable. It's regrettable because since this war started, Africans don't think that we are all Africans and that they should come to our aid. You have watched the killing of our people, the massacre of our people, the genocide committed on our people, and all the African countries, not one has said anything about what is happening to the African people in the southern Cameroons. We are Africans, just like you are. This is what happened in Rwanda. When they were killing people in Rwanda, when the genocide was taking place in Rwanda, the Africans went to sleep, including the only African who had a secretary general, who became secretary general. He was then in charge of the peacekeeping forces of the United Nations, Kofi Annan. And during that time, the United Nations met and said, never again. It is happening in the southern Cameroons, and Africans are asleep, and the United Nations is asleep. I want to comment a little bit on what the guy, the French puppet, called for, who is the United Nations Special Envoy to Africa. What he said a few days ago, that Cameroon should negotiate a ceasefire with the Ambazonian people to allow Africans to enjoy the African Nations Cup. When? 2 days to the tournament. This is a man who has consistently told lies at the United Nations about what is happening in the southern Cameroon. That Mr. Fall, a French puppet, has never opened his mouth in the United Nations to say that people are being slaughtered in southern Cameroon. You know the massacres. You know all of them. You have Gabu, you have Pinyin, you have Bale, you have Babanki Tungo, you have Mautu, you have Kwakwa, you have Kembong. I can name them. We have lost more than 35,000 of our people, Africans. And Mr. Fall can get out of sleep today and say, oh, let La République de Cameroon negotiate a ceasefire with the Ambazonian people so that Africans can enjoy their football. My God, football has become more important than the lives of other Africans, Mr. Fall. Mr. Fall, history will judge you for all the lies you have told the United Nations about this conflict. History is going to judge you. Where have you been all this while? You are asking for ceasefire now. Let me inform you. Any ceasefire without preconditions, without the modalities of a ceasefire, the restoration forces of the Federal Republic of Amazonia will not respect it. Ceasefire is not pronounced in 2 days, Mr. Fall. It's negotiated with terms of the ceasefire and enforcement terms. You come and tell us we'll do a ceasefire today so that La République de Cameroon can invade our territory tomorrow. You got it all, sir. A ceasefire is usually negotiated, Mr. Fall. I don't know from which part of the world you come from, but I know you're from Senegal. You're from whether Senegal or Chad, I cannot remember. But you are an African. And you have taken sides openly with La République de Cameroon. In the United Nations, all your pronouncements, we have them. All full of lies and innuendos, we have them. Mr. Fall, there will be no ceasefire during this tournament. And that tournament that La République forces have invaded our territory will be met with fire. We know that La République de Cameroon has all these arsenals, all the military hardware that they are using, our money that have come from our territory, the petrol that they are drilling from the Gulf of Guinea, which belongs to us. Every day they are drilling and using that money to buy weapons to come and kill us. And other Africans are asleep, including Mr. Fall. The person who appointed you special envoy to Africa did that for you to go and protect the French. And we thank you for your evil deeds. You have no lesson to teach anybody. You cannot come now and talk about ceasefire without talking to the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, to sitting down with the Republic and negotiating in terms of ceasefire. There will be no ceasefire, Mr. Ford. We didn't bring this war. Your friend, Paul Biya of La Republique du Cameroon, whom you support so much at the United Nations, declared the war on us on the 30th of November 2017. You were where? You were the special envoy to Africa. Or is it Central Africa? Mr. Ford, you've gotten out of sleep to talk about ceasefire because you want Africans to enjoy football, which is more important than African lives. If you want to enjoy football, the CAF awarded the hosting to La République du Cameroon, which did not include Ambazonia. Ambazonia, the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon, is at war as we speak with La République du Cameroon, and Victoria is a war zone. You are sending our dear African brothers from all over to come and get killed in Limbe, or what you call Limbe, but I know it's Victoria. And you can sit there in your office and say, let there be ceasefire between La République du Cameroon and the Ambazonian people so that Africans can enjoy football. Damn you. You will not have that ceasefire. Go and tell your boss, the Secretary General of the United Nations, that you did not do the work. Because if you did the work, you would have met with La République du Cameroon and met with us before making that pronouncement. You only met with La République du Cameroon. We know. Because you work for the French, and the French are La République du Cameroon. The French are sponsoring La République du Cameroon to slaughter our people, to annihilate all of the southern Cameroon so that you people can take over the territory. You will not. I don't see you. You will not be able, because we will fight to the last man standing. When your puppet, Paul Biya, declared the war, he said it was going to be over in 2 weeks. This is the 5th year. Mr. Ford, go back to the United Nations and try again. But your lies in the United Nations are well documented by the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. We know you. We know who you are. We know you work for the French. We know you work for La République du Cameroon. You don't work for Africans. My dear people of Ambazonia, we have a challenge to ensure that our territorial integrity is respected by everybody. The restoration forces are called upon you to do what you have to do to protect the interests of the people of the Southern Cameroon Ambazonia. That includes environmental protection. That includes all the ills that this kind of tournament brings to any territory. Victoria is a very beautiful city, our city, that in those days it was shining. Today it looks like a dumb yacht because of La République du Cameroon. All the petrol money you have taken from us, everything, when your Sonora was refining petroleum, you were coming and carrying. Look at the road from Douala to Victoria. Is that a road? You call that a road? A death trap. But your tankers are running there carrying refined petroleum from Sonora. That refined petroleum from Sonora no longer exists. You are only carrying petroleum from Nigeria, refined in Nigeria, and you are buying it and distributing to Cameroon. And when you produce crude oil, it's a shame. You come to our territory, carry our crude oil, sell it in the international market, buy weapons, and come and kill us. our people will defend our territory and our people to the last man standing. Our people all over, from Victoria through Kumba, through Manfe, through Fontem, through Manyu Manfe, right up to Bamenda, Bengui, Kambe, Kumbu, Ndop, and all over. We will defend our territory to the last man standing. If La Republique and CAF are wise enough, let them move that tournament from Victoria, which you now call Limbe, to Bafusam, where you have a good stadium as well. Why did you have to bring it there? To provoke us. And you brought all the military arsenal, including troops, that line the boundary from the Mongo Bridge. The boundary is the Mongo Bridge. And we decreed that that boundary stays closed from the 3rd of January. You have line troops from there to Boya, from there to Victoria, passing through Tico and Motengene. You think that will scare us? You have invaded our territory illegally and will respond. Whether your military men are in uniform or out of uniform, we will respond. I thank you all, my dear country people. And before I go, I'd like to give 21 gun salute to our fighters on the ground, our restoration forces, to all our field marshals and generals, beginning with the great field marshal of Libya Lem, the greatest military leader I have known in this my time that I'm still living. And Field Marshal No Pity, who is a young man, but he should learn to respect the elders. Thank you very much, General Isubu, Major General Isubu, Major General Grandpa, Major General Okoro, Major General Tenkobo, one of the greatest generals of our time, and all the other generals that I have not mentioned. Please accept greetings from the interim government of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. I will end here, and I will be open to questions from everybody. And those questions will not last for more than 30 minutes. Thank you very much. Badu, are you there? I will crave your indulgence to be patient. There are technical issues. When they are resolved, we will receive questions from all Ambazonians around the world, especially from Ground Zero and from continental Europe. I know all of you are tired and getting ready to go to bed. And from continental America, South America, and everywhere around the world. And in the Far East, China, Australia, and all over, please, we'll be waiting for your questions. We know about the time factor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't know, can you hear me, Barasafru?
Yes, I can hear you now. I've been off for more than 5 minutes.
Okay, That's okay.
If we
Thank
have any
you for the
questions,
briefing. We just got, we have received the announcement you've made and the promise to make other announcement in the course of the week. Please, I want to tell Ambazonians, don't call until we give a cue. Don't call me. You're interrupting the broadcast if you're calling. Thank you. I would like to just reiterate some of the things you have announced. You have announced the fact that there is an ASSC coming up in the month of March, if I'm not mistaken, starting 10th.
from the 10th of March.
Am I correct?
Yes, 10th of March to the 13th of
10th
March.
of to the March. It's a 4-day workshop with coders to have a SWOT analysis and to examine the state of the struggle and propose solutions that can be implemented for a way forward. You have reiterated government stand and you've sent necessary warning to those who are invading the land of the former British Southern Cameroons, now Ambazonia. It would appear French Cameroon is categoric in their endeavor to defy our territorial integrity, but you have promised us, I'm sure you're doing so based on the backing from a briefing that you must have gotten from your defense officials. For Amazonians watching back home, precise Victoria, you have to stay prudent and stay safe, stay home. If peradventure you are tempted and you must watch any of the matches scheduled either in your own or even wisdoms that you television, if you must participate. Ambazonia, as reiterated by the spokesperson this evening, is not organizing AFCON, and therefore any tournament in Victoria is a trespass. Before we move into this, Mr. Spokesperson, there was a
Your
comment.
microphone,
I don't
your
know
microphone.
if you wish to comment or you wish to react to it. I'm sure you heard.
Your microphone, I can't hear you well.
My microphone, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Repeat.
Okay. I was saying that there was a comment that was made. Okay, now?
I can hear you now. Go on.
Perfect. Comment was made by some of the panelists. The previous show is, I don't know if you heard, if you want to react before we take calls. And I would like the studio to have the numbers on the screen. Well, we had some of the panelists. That would take one of my first questions to you. Some of the panelists were accusing the president for reacting during his end of year speech to the nation and setting the stance of his stance about the behavior of the Restoration Council.
Your microphone has a problem.
Opinion
Your
his
microphone has a
reaction
problem.
wasn't appropriate. I don't know if you like to react. Okay, let me rectify that.
Yes. Paddy, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Paddy, can you hear me? Paddy, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I believe it should be good now.
Okay.
Is it okay now?
Let me react to that. Listen, the president is the head of state, is the commander-in-chief of the Ambazonia Restoration Forces, and is the leader of this struggle. The head of state took an oath to protect the Constitution. And nobody, whether you are the head of the Restoration Council or anybody, can violate that Constitution or intends to violate that Constitution, and you expect the head of state not to bring it to the people. That is wrong. The interim government has a duty to inform the people of Ambazonia about what is happening in their struggle. That constitution that you see, Paddy, is called an interim constitution. It's not a constitution of any country. It's a constitution that was made to guide the revolution, to guide the struggle until we get to Boya. When we get to Boya, this interim government has only 3 years to put the institutions in place and disappear. That constitution did not foresee elections and did not foresee an amendment. There is no amendment clause in that constitution. And anybody who thinks that he can assign to others a mandate when it does not exist in that constitution, it's in total violation of that. It is unconstitutional for that person to say that. Secondly, that particular person who is parading as the leader of the Restoration Council was acting for the real leader, who is Pandangam, who was elected in Zaria as the vice president of the Restoration Council. And because he was still in ground zero, he could not come into office. And he called this guy, who was the SCNC of North America, to take charge of the Restoration Council until he can get there. And 1 year after, Pandangam arrived, and this guy refused to hand over. He was acting in place of Pandangam. Now, who is violating the Constitution? You violated it. You have been sitting there for years. Let me ask him, what is his mandate? He can assign a mandate of 2 years to the head of state. What about him? What is his mandate? Well, I don't want to go any further than that, Paddy. That is the only reaction I have for now. I'm not in the habit of commenting when people have a panel and I come and comment. No.
Okay, Amazonians, I want to apologize for the technical issues we've been having. Looking at the comment section right now. If you can hear me better now, we are trying to rectify it. Just let us know.
I can hear you.
Yes, Barrister Fru, you earlier on when we were talking, you had an issue when it comes to interpretation of that decalogue, I would say the Constitution, that is the binding and document that is meant to help us during this time of our struggle. Do you want to react to some of the misconception and interpretation that is running out there? Because you realize that even those who wanted election, some of them are gradually pushing the clause of an amendment so that the election can take place. Would you want to give your interpretation and react to that, please?
Let me react. First,
yes,
that constitution, the legislative intent of that constitution was not to have elections during the war. First thing, that constitution was adopted and promulgated on the on the 17th of April 2018. It did not foresee any elections or renewal of mandate of any of the organs created by that constitution. Number two, that constitution does not have an amendment clause, which means the intent was not to have any amendment till we get to Boya. It is not the constitution of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. It is the interim constitution, which means it binds us only during this war. And when we get to Boya, this interim government will exist only for 3 years to put together the structures of governance. Which are those structures? The constitution, the operating laws, and of course, organizing the state. And then 3 years, they have to step down. No more, no less, and organize elections. There will be an electoral code. There will be the constitution and electoral code and all the other laws that bind an emerging state. And they have only 3 years to do that. After 3 years, somebody must be voted, the new government must be voted to take over the country and run the country. For now, that document called the interim constitution, I have a copy right here, does not foresee any elections or any amendment, because the amendment clause that exists in most constitutions in the world does not exist in that thing. That is my reaction. That it does not foresee any amendment. But if the conference in Washington D.C. that is called for from the 10th to the 13th decide to amend the constitution, the interim constitution, that will be their take. They must first introduce the amendment clause before they do any amendment to that constitution.
Now you brought up a very vital part of it. But then I want to ask you, what is the spirit behind the non-amendable constitution presented to us during this liberation phase?
It was meant to help us fight this war, to help us go through this struggle. It wasn't meant to govern a country, buddy. It is not a constitution that governs any country. We are not governing right now. We are not. Let that go through everybody's mind. We are fighting for our freedom to recover our country, and then we start governing. There is a constitutional drafting committee that will put a constitution that will be proposed to the Constituent Assembly in Boya. They can take it or refuse to take it, but that Constituent Assembly will come up with the blueprint of the Constitution for the Federal Republic of Ambazonia and will be voted in a referendum by the Ambazonian people. You are talking about a constitution. What has ground zero got to do with this interim constitution that we have here? Ground zero did not take part in any of this. That is where our people are. That's where the population is. The diaspora cannot arrogate to itself to do a constitution for the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. What we have is an interim document, interim constitution to guide us through this struggle. That's all. And that's why the legislative intent on that 17th of April 2018 did not foresee elections, because first of all, elections are very disruptive. They take your attention away from the fight. Number two, you don't amend anything until you get to Boya. When you get to Boya, everybody's mandate expires except that of the interim government, that is the executive, for 3 years to organize what? The state. The constitutional conference will be held where every Ambazonian from Limbe to Nkambe delegates will come from there to that constituent assembly and vote and discuss, put the blueprint, and it is given to the Ambazonian people in a referendum to vote. That is the basis for any country. For now, you have only this interim thing that guides you through this struggle. And it was not intended for you to tamper with it. It was not intended for you to organize elections of people's mandate. The Restoration Council, what is their mandate? It doesn't exist. Even though they shot themselves in the foot when they came out of Berlin, they passed a law which gave them 2-year mandate before they can go back and get vetted from their LGAs. That 2 year has since expired since this August, the last August, 8th of August. But that is not the law. That law was unconstitutional because Berlin had decided that every member of the Restoration Council that was not from the LGA, you have to go back to your LGA and be vetted. And if you go back and there's already somebody representing that LGA, tough luck.
You know, when you have a little knowledge on law, and I listen to you speak, I understand very clearly some of the things you're saying. But then I want to help my audience by asking you some questions that will break it down.
Yes, sure.
Break it down to make our people understand. You said the Restoration Council shot themselves on the foot. I know exactly what you're saying. But this is the question I want to ask.
I didn't say the Restoration Council. Those who were voted from representatives of countries and from Zaria before Berlin, they were asked by Berlin to go back and get the mandate from their LGAs. They didn't ask them to go to law, giving themselves.
I want you to use this to explain. Berlin in itself and resolutions from Berlin is very unconstitutional.
No.
But it has been adopted as law.
Let me tell you. No.
Explain.
You are wrong.
Explain. Let me see.
You are wrong. The Berlin conference, like the one which will be taking place in Washington, it's a representative of all the people of the Ambazonia in the diaspora.
Okay. So what is this same representative?
It is the highest organ that can amend or demand that constitution. It is the highest organ that can take decisions binding on the struggle. And that is why they took the decision that all restoration members should come from the LGAs, elected from the LGAs. Those who have left the LGAs and they are elected are elected officials, and there's nothing you can do about that.
Now, let me say something.
Those who were never elected by the people in the diaspora, that is all over the world, including Nigeria, they were just appointed. Those people have to go back to their LGAs and get a mandate. Paddy, there should be no SCNC, what do they call the other one? SCLL and all those groups. There should be no groups in the Restoration Council. Restoration Council is made out of people who are not in groups, people who are Ambazonians. Anybody who is an Ambazonian, you don't need to belong to a group. Go back to your LGA and you are voted and sent back. If those of them who were already members of the Restoration Council without a mandate, if you have not gone back now, it's tough luck, because those who have already been elected from your LGA, they have a mandate from the LGA, so you don't have a mandate. Cometa and others fall in that category.
So I agree with that. Cometa and some others fall in that category. But this is something. whatever you're saying right now was not stipulated in the interim constitution.
Let me
Which
tell
means,
you,
therefore, for it to have been passed as law.
Hold on. When Berlin pronounced, a law was immediately drafted and adopted by the Restoration Council, and that is the APP. Go and read it. The APP decentralized.
So there was an amendment.
The APP decentralized the executive branch. Look, people don't understand that the interim government starts from the federal government to the counties and to the LGAs. Those counties were created in Berlin and LGAs. And that gives the power to the people, where you should be elected from there to represent them in your parliament.
Now the argument is, if these same people via their constituent assemblies would want to have an amendment within this interim constitution,
that's why I say Washington DC, 10th to 13th of March, if they decide, if all the stakeholders from LGAs to counties to the cabinet and the executive to the Restoration Council to representatives of countries around the world of Ambazonians meet in Washington DC and they decide to amend that constitution, fair and good. But they will first of all introduce an amendment clause in that constitution as it is now. When they do, then they can amend the constitution.
And that's a process.
Yes, that is the process. Until then, as it is now, that constitution as it is now, there's no amendment clause, and there's no mandate of anybody. Because at the revolution, you are giving a mandate. When do you know that the revolution will end? It could have taken 1 year, it could take 2 years, it could take 10 years, it could take how many years? When do you know it will end?
And Barrister, so this logic is why some people feel that we do not need to we do not need to consciously drive ourselves in a quagmire in any eventuality that it delays. I don't want any delay. So we need to make provision for...
Listen to me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Listen to me very carefully. People in the diaspora think that they are everything. You forget that our population is back there. Me sitting here, I'm only 2.5 years old here. I am part of ground zero. But the constitution was meant to guide the interim government in exile. When I talk of the interim government,
and it would appear that the people in exile have suddenly become more interested in the politics than ground zero.
When I talk of the interim government, I mean the executive, the Restoration Council, the judiciary, which are the 3 branches of government. The judiciary is fused into this and into what you call the ethics committee, and is part of the executive. I don't know how, but that is the way it operates right now. But let me tell you something. You cannot be boring Ambazonians at home with your so-called constitution. It is called the interim constitution because it wants to guide you, to guide this revolution, to guide the government in exile till we get to Boya. We don't have a right to speak for everybody, but at least that interim constitution is what guides the revolution in the diaspora and the government that is in exile to pilot the affairs of this struggle till we get to Boya.
But so there's something I agree with you that you have mentioned in all you have said, but I just want you to listen to me very closely so that you can react to this. I am intentionally doing this because I want some people to get some clarification. I noticed you reacted to the discussion we had earlier today. Now, there's something I agree with you, is the distraction that an electoral liberation movement could create. Because, like the president said,
the fight.
Just a moment. The president said something that elections divide, which is factual.
Yes.
Even in America, you want to take a side, you want to fabricate things to kill the other so that you can gain some votes, and maybe that is part of the spirit behind the constitution we have. But this is a loophole when it comes to the LGA structure. If we will have to have equitable representation from the LGAs, Ndian, for instance, is the least populated county in Amazonia, but because of La Republique's interest, they fragmented Dian in what they call it subdivisions and divisions to give it more subdivisions. Which means if every LGA, because we have just adopted what was put in place and called them LGAs and counties and all of that, I know there are some few modifications. If every LGA, for instance, in Dian, which I would say about 11 LGAs in Dian, that does not compare, you have to put Momo, you have to put Manu, you have to put Mezam to meet up the 11 LGAs representing Dian alone. It will mean that a small population of Dian might be presenting 11 votes.
Let me answer you.
So this brings an argument that someone said.
No,
I may not want to call the name.
Stop there. Let me answer you about Dian.
Okay, go ahead.
Dian represents a breadbasket for this nation. The resources that you have in Dian, you will not have it anywhere. What is 11 people from Dian compared to what you will get from Dian? 11 people coming from Dian, that worries you?
That's an argument, but someone disagrees.
That worries you? I want every LGA that is in Dian, Bato, I want them to produce one member of the Restoration Council and send to the Restoration Council. Does that worry you? What about the resources that you will have from Dian? I am a defender of Dian. I can tell you that Dian has more resources than any LGA or all the LGAs put together. You have been turned off. But what's going on?
That's fine. Yes. It's okay. I think it was just a little bit of hinge there.
Listen now.
So
look.
Let's make progress.
I would prefer all the LGAs in Dian, even if they are 11, to have one member each in the Restoration Council. That's what was decided in Berlin.
Okay, I think that's an argument. Since we're bringing argument and making the environment healthy into Washington, because we're moving now from Berlin into Washington. Now, yes. Let's run off from here and take some calls because people want to talk to you.
Yes.
Now, correct. This is the point. There is a suggestion that all the counties would have to collectively send 2 representatives each into the Restoration Council, and then most probably a lower house that has to do a representation of all LGAs, which means just the 2 representatives from every county has a right to vote. But a lower house could make contributions, could empower these 2 representatives. Don't you think this is going to bring some fairness?
I don't know where you're getting your own narrative. Yes, the 2 representatives are delegates, but let me tell you about the strategic stakeholders conference.
Okay.
All the executive of the counties are delegates.
Yeah.
All the executives of LGAs are delegates.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the Restoration Council, which is the parliament.
Yeah.
The law says every LGA. Wow, what's going on here?
Don't bother. Yes. It's okay.
That every LGA sends in 1 voted member to the Restoration Council. That is power coming from the people. The LGAs represent the population of our Ambazonians in the diaspora. And even from ground zero, if some people have to come from ground zero, so be it, there will be delegates. But for the Restoration Council to function properly, everybody must be voted from his LGA, which is the base. Are you following me?
I'm
Then
following
those
you.
who were there before, they gave you an opportunity to go back to your LGA and ask for their mandate. And if you have not done that, do you have a right to sit in the Restoration Council? That's another story.
Okay, with the leakages, the mess that we're having in the revolution or the struggle right now because of mostly the conduct. Because I told someone yesterday, I said, listen, the behavior of certain cabinet members is not the root cause of the problem we are facing. The root cause of the problem we are facing could be the misconduct of the Restoration Council, and that got
Not could be.
some.
Not could be.
That
Not could be. It is the fault of the president of the Restoration Council, who has arrogated power to himself, who thinks that he can sit there and dish out mandates which do not exist, and who is sitting on a chair that does not belong to him. It belongs to Pandangam, because that's what was decided in Zaria.
Okay.
Am I making myself clear? Am I making myself
at this
clear?
point in time, no, I'm happy you know there's something about you. It's like you're one of the straight shooters we have within the government, and Eric, and you're just saying it the way it should be. What do you think? Because I was about finishing the question and you interrupted, which is sweet. But what do we do amidst this chaotic situation?
The Ambazonian Strategic Stakeholders Conference in March in Washington will answer all those questions. If they have to amend the constitution, so be it. But they must.
But like you said, it's going to be a double procedure. They have to introduce a clause for amendment before amending.
Yes, of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ambazonians, you are watching a serious discussion with Barrister John Fru, an attorney who has practiced in Houston, Texas for a very short while and has practiced in the Cameroons. And he, by merit, has practiced for close to 40 years. I would say 38 years if I'm not mistaken. And we're having a first caller here. Yes, caller, I think the spokesperson. Where are you calling from, please?
Hello, buddy.
Yes.
Hello, buddy.
Yes, please, I can hear you and Barrister Fru is hearing. You can go ahead.
Okay, I'm calling from the federal capital.
Okay, from Boya.
Good. Very good.
Okay. What's your contribution, please?
Okay, I've been watching the program following on the narrative of...
Let him be louder.
Come again?
Louder.
Yes, I've been following on the narrative of the barrister.
Okay, what's your contribution?
Okay, my contribution is I have a worry with the way the revolution has been going lately. You know, there's been some brouhaha about elections left and right, amendment of the constitution and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, the worrying part is each one is presenting their own narrative of the whole issue. You know, I've come across a few videos and audios where I think the president of the Restoration Council and some other members, you know, evidences that show that, you know, the mandate of the president Sako is due in 2 years.
Okay.
And following from what the president has been saying, you know, I'm sorry what the land minister has been saying. The constitution we have at stake is the constitution that is going to take us right to Boya before any elections and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, with this other argument where they're saying that the president's mandate is supposed to be 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So where is, amidst all this, we want a level ground, we want a consensus.
Okay.
Is it that there was an article in the Constitution that states that this document is to take us to Boya before or any amendment or any elections?
Okay, Barrister will respond to your question.
Yeah, let me respond.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy? Do you have
No,
a
no,
copy
don't
of that?
explain. Let Barrister explain. You have already asked a question. Just be patient, please.
Yes. Do you have a copy
Barrister, he
of that
mentioned two things. There's a document circulating. I don't know if you have had that document on social
media. I've heard him.
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of that interim constitution? I know you are in ground zero. If you have it, that will be good because it does not concern you. But do you have a copy of that constitution? No, okay.
Do you have a
Maybe
copy of the Constitution?
You don't have. Okay.
I want to explain something to you, Barrister. Please permit me.
Let me tell you what the Constitution has said and what it has not said. The interim constitution is not a constitution for Ambazonia. It will die the day this whole fight finishes. The interim constitution says creates institutions. They create the Restoration Council, which is acting like a parliament. They create the executive with the president at the head, who is also the head of state and commander-in-chief. It is well spelled out in that constitution. He's the head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. They create the ethics committee, which is joined with the judiciary. Of course, people don't like lawyers. They always put the judiciary where they cannot exert their powers. Anyway, but that's what the constitution has done. Nowhere in that constitution, my man, you in Boya, I hope you are listening. There is nothing there about renewal of any mandate of these institutions. There's nothing there about elections. And there's nothing there about amending that very constitution. Anybody introducing that now, no organ created by that constitution has a right to introduce any amendment now. That amendment will only be taken in the Ambazonian Stakeholders Strategic Conference in Washington. That will be the second. The first took place in Berlin, which created the counties and the LGAs. Are you following me? Ours is the only revolution that has decentralized. Most revolutions in the world are managed from the center, but ours has been decentralized to give power to our people in the diaspora. In the diaspora, no mention of any election because the drafters foresaw that any election will bring chaos in the revolutionary fight to regain our sovereignty. No mention of amendment because those are things that can create a fight, which will take our eyes away from the struggle. Our restoration forces need our help. They need our money. They need everything. We need us to give them materials to fight for us. They are fighting and dying for us, and we're here arguing up and down the place. You know what? For the last 1 month to 2 months now, this revolution has been facing problems because of these fruitless arguments left and right. Like my colleague Dr. Ella said, people have come to interpret the constitution more than even the lawyers. The lawyers don't make the constitution, you do. All the population does. But the lawyers interpret the constitution after it has been passed into law. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, there's another caller on the line. There's a caller.
Thank you very much.
Yes, caller, where are you calling from?
Yes, go on.
Yes, caller, where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from Ground Zero.
Where precisely?
Mezam County.
Yeah, go ahead. Barrister is listening.
Yeah, I just want to appreciate Barrister for the big announcement he's made. And yeah, I just want to appreciate Barrister for the big announcement he's made. And for his frankness in answering the questions that have been proposed to him.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, I've just watched a program on ABS by Chris Ano.
Yeah.
Right now. Yes, in that program, a certain lady, he showed a certain video of a certain lady, purportedly, yes, a member of the Restoration Council. At the time when this interim government was put in place. And in that video, that lady insisted that the mandate of that interim government was going to be 2 years, after which modalities will be put forward for elections. Now, I'm very surprised to hear Barrister telling me that there was no mandate in that kind of, in the Constitution. Then how come that lady of the Restoration Council...
Do you have another question so that I can respond to that one? Don't explain. You have asked the question. Do you have another question?
My brother from Mezam. I'm
You,
sure
you don't have another question? Okay, I'll get the next caller. Thank you. Barrister, go ahead.
Yes, my brother, I'm sure you are calling from Bamenda. Let me tell you, that lady is talking from imagination. Let her take a copy of that constitution and read, and tell Barrister Prujon, so Barrister Timothy Mbesa and Barrister Ghana and all the other barristers where it is written that there's a 2-year mandate for the president and no mandate at all for the Restoration Council. They must be dreaming. They must be dreaming. It's an
the caller made
imagination.
an error. It was not when it wasn't when the government was being instituted. It was when President Ayuk was impeached. Yes, caller. Where are you calling from?
No, President Ayuk himself did not have a mandate.
Yeah.
He was only impeached for treasonous activities, which is still in the Constitution. And if Sako commits any treasonous activity, he will be impeached by the Restoration Council. Until then, the only mandate that will expire is the one that when we get to Boya, Sako and his government has 3 years to put together the institutions of the state. That is what that.
Yes, caller. Where are you calling from, please?
That interim constitution does not bind anybody in Ground Zero.
Yeah, go ahead, caller.
I'm calling from Washington State.
Okay, go ahead.
I have part of the Constitution. I don't know if you have come across this section of the Constitution, which is dated November 16, 2019. And the last paragraph says, if I may quote here.
That's not the Constitution. I know the document. Somebody has already reacted to it.
That is a doctored constitution. The real constitution
that is not a constitution, please. If you have another question, go ahead.
2018. That's the one that
that is one of the things that have brought issues now, problems. I know the documents.
All those people are taking documents all over the place. The constitution that was adopted and signed by the Restoration Council has no mandate.
Okay, do you have another question, please?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me take the next caller. Yeah, hello, caller. Yeah, go ahead. We're listening loud and clear.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for the good show.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes. Hey, you know this consumer issue is trying to give us some confusion. I have a question to Barrister Fu.
Yes.
Yeah. When he's saying that in the Constitution there is no space for election, because I understand Dr. Saki is not the first president of this country. Now, how was he elected if there's no clause for election? How was Dr. Sako became president? He was not the first president.
Okay, do you have another question? Don't explain so that we can save. There are a lot of people calling. Do you have another question?
No, thank you.
Okay, if that's your question, then wait for the answer, please. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I was not here. I was in ground zero. But let me tell you something. After the impeachment of the first president of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Dr. Sako was an acting president at that time. And in order for him to become the interim president, he was vetted by the Restoration Council. No government in the world would allow the parliament to vote a president. It was a vetting process. It is given because the Restoration Council has the power to vet anybody who is already in that government to take powers. For example, when Dr. Sako appointed his cabinet as enumerated in that constitution, every one of them went to the Restoration Council to be vetted. And a vetting process is not an election of a president. Election of a president is by the people. You will remember that Ayuk and Sako were elected president and vice by the people. When our president was impeached because of the treasonous activities as it is stated in the constitution, what happened? Somebody had to fill that post. And that was the the constitutional successor at the time was Sako. So the Restoration Council vetted Sako,
Yeah,
and it became the.
I wanted to just say something. Dr. Sako.
Let me finish now, Sako. Let me finish now, Paddy. When he was vetted, he was to be sworn in by the president of the Restoration Council, and Mr. President introduced his own mandate from his head during the process. You didn't expect Sako to disrupt the oath-taking process and challenge what Komita was saying. Komita should have read the oath as it is in the Constitution. The oath of president taking office is in the Constitution. He was supposed to have read that.
Please, let me just do something so that they don't misunderstand us, if you permit. Actually, when the Sisiko and the others were taken, the person that was vice of Dr. Sako was muted and was dismissed by Dr. Sako, and Abongwa was appointed. And as acting, both of them were acting president and acting vice. So when Sisiko now was impeached as president, the acting president was now, like you said, vetted into the presidency. So there's another caller in the line, please. Yeah, caller, go ahead. Where are you calling from, please?
Yes, I'm calling from the UK.
Okay, please make your contribution. Or you have a question?
I would like to ask how many positions he has in the interim government. How many office of duty does he have?
Okay, thank you. Do you have a second question?
No, that's good enough.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let me answer that. My dear brother, Barrister Fruit Johnson, who left Ground Zero 2.5 years ago, is vice of this, vice of that. I have never held a full position in the interim government. I was first made vice of the Intergovernmental Oversight Committee. Secondly, they appointed the chairman of the rest of the Judicial Council and appointed me and along with him as his vice, and made me as a vice to be in charge of all the cases that are filed, including the ICC and all the cases are filed in Europe, in those European countries that have universal jurisdictions. I have filed over 14 cases, along with, we worked on that with three prominent lawyers, Barrister Mbesa, myself, and Barrister Ghana.
You see, Barrister, so the concern here is that it is
Now,
alleged on the social
I
media.
don't have all those posts. I only post. I have never held a full post in the interim government. I have been vice of this, vice of that. And even right
You
now,
see, I want to situate it so that you give people the clarity.
I'm talking to you. Listen now, Paddy. Even now that I'm talking to you, I am the interim spokesman. I am not the permanent spokesman. When the government will be reorganized, I will be out of here, my man. I started this
Please,
fight.
no caller to call on a direct line, please. I will not pick
If
it.
you go
Just
to
call on
YouTube, you
WhatsApp.
will see all my fights. I have never held any post, permanent post in the interim government. I have been vice. Like the president explained, I have time.
Please permit me to ask you the question so that it can help clarity. It is insinuated that you have 5 posts. Now you're talking about vice. Can you enumerate the number of vice? So that let's get it straight.
No.
What number
Vice
of
IOC,
vice do you have?
Vice IOC and vice chairman of the Judicial Council. That's all.
So 2.
2.
2.
And
That
then,
means
of course,
whatever is said on the social media is the fraud.
in my function as vice chairman, I am also the lead prosecutor to pursue those cases that we filed in the ICC and other countries in Europe and around the world.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. There is another caller. Yes, caller? Yeah, good evening. Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Europe, Austria precisely. Thank you for the good job and great job for Barrister Flo. You permit me to at least put my question in the pidgin English so that my own mother in Qatar will be able to understand.
Yeah, go ahead, my brother.
Yes, sir.
I want really ask during the impeachment, now Ambazonia Constitution made Restoration Council for understand say Seseko Ayotade don't commit a felony. Down a constitution, Restoration Council will be able to identify a crime we Ayotade to have. That said, it means say constitution tell the Restoration Council say Ayotade don't commit a crime. Okay, they impeach Ayotade. Then coming to the terms of the presidency, they put constitution aside, then now come out with their terms of office. Now for the mafia come up for Restoration Council. For impeachment, they go into constitution, refer. Then coming now on their own terms, put a term mandate for our president, Dr. Sako. Now the mafia that with the restoration will get from the place today, we knock our heads. Now the Restoration Council put it for this next. Because I don't know place where they come up with a mandate for the gear for our president. At the same time, they tell me say now constitution don't give the right to impeach Seseko Ayotade. So that today means we'll get 2 constitutions. One will be now for impeach Ayotade. The another constitution will be now for give a mandate for Dr. Sako.
Yeah, my brother, I might just tell you, say Restoration Council don't acknowledge. Say wait till they do not there for constitution. But now say small confusion be there for them, they never know what to do, so they come up with that one. Well, the argument plenty. But the truth now say we don't come to the consensus say the behavior of a Restoration Council not be constitutional. So now logical thing but just knock her out. Go ahead if you still want to talk something.
Okay, yeah.
No. I think I've heard him. Paddy, I don't have much time. You plan to
we're
end the show.
closing in 6 minutes. We're closing in 6 minutes, so you have a few seconds, please.
Fire. That instead for Amazonian people, for Chris and will come on ABC to answer question. Instead, Chris and they on his private TV. They instead call people, they interview them. They instead don't set fire. They instead turn on an investigator. They manipulate the minds of Amazonian people. Then secondly, the other day for his show, he talk say, so one person for this trouble, we see the problem, they issue very quiet. When the person vice president, within 30 seconds, Chris Anu again, he say, If they talk for ABC, say they invite the president and the vice president, interview two of them. If the interim government deny for doing so, he the Chris Ann will invite the VP for his own TV interview. Amazon will watch Chris Ann very well.
Okay, thank you, brother. Thank you for that this thing. I give a public interview for VP. VP get my number. I will also send you invitation after we don't finish now. Say go me create time come we'll do the interview. No man if here for interview VP. Thank you very much, my brother. I'm gonna take the next caller so that we will round up. We'll get just 5 more minutes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. This caller, you don't talk them. We find way. I be one use them for react. I could just talk for pigeon so that we meet them brother. They all my hear them. I want react for thing way Dr. Epa will do. I will talk saying that dishonesty for Dr. Epa for talk the thing way talk for this TV a few minutes ago. I thought say I not call me for direct call because I not go pick him. I go pick only the one for WhatsApp. I beg for them. Now the dishonesty when Dr. Epa show be say, Dr. Epa no they try for even see the fact say we get person when the communication secretary don't do something. They don't create confusion. The Dodge and Nana for talk president reaction for end of year speech. It be unfortunate. Yes, I look caller, go ahead and talk. Yeah.
Make Amazonian people that know say what you going to do for studio day or for interim government are just a voluntary job. They not pay somebody for anything when they do. Around ABC television don't cry time and again say they try people that mean they can't put program there for ABC. No man they know they go. So when we get a position where vacancy day, people are not they show their faces for outside day. So man a volunteer like powerful Johnson, a volunteer for take up. We Amazonian people will come out there, they talk, say you get how many positions. Make as many people as possible, they go put their faces outside there for go work. Even if you want to play program for ABC TV, they will give you the space. We don't know you don't for down there, for try for discourage for the way they want to sacrifice their life, their time for book their operations, so they move forward. Thank you, now you end the talk.
Okay, thank you very much, UN. The calls that they keep coming.
Let me react.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I want to tell you that since I got here from ground zero, maybe they think that I'm not qualified enough to do anything. I have been vice IOC and vice chair of the rest of the Judicial Council. I am only good as vice. So that is the only comment I can make.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will take this last caller. Last caller, you get 2 minutes because party go. You get meetings right now. Go ahead. Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Washington D.C.
Okay.
And I want to talk in pidgin too, like the last caller.
Yeah, go ahead, my brother.
Everybody should listen, even from the ground zero. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. My question is, Mr. Cristiano create a private TV, and he talk for this say that from there now they go to run the revolution. And the members of the government, they go from the private TV, the answer state questions. So my question now is say they take that knowledge and they give the legitimacy for a private TV or run the state affairs now, or why government officials, when they appoint them by the government, they go for the state affairs. Your question.
Okay, go ahead. Barrister Fru.
Yes. Let me
now,
tell you.
What this caller ask me say, excuse the government don't approve that television. Go ahead.
Wait. Chris Anu now is an activist. He goes and forms his own television and he's dishing out what he thinks, where I think he has created a forum for him to fight this interim government. We will not reply to anything that he says. It is the policy of the government not to reply to activists. Not to reply to activists. He can say whatever he wants to say on that his TV. It engages only him and those who are his listeners. But what I would say is that when the auditors of ABC will call on him, he must come here and help the auditors audit ABC, because ABC is a 501c corporation under the American government and taxes are filed every year. So Mr. Chris
Okay,
Anu,
this caller has a concern, Powerful. The caller is saying that is rephrase your caller.
Government officials, they go there, they answer government questions. The government don't give them the power to run the government now from the private GP, for which right a government official elected or appointed by the government will go there and discuss about the state issues. So,
okay, we don't get. I don't get a make and talk a me Powerful here, fine.
I get it now. Let me inform you, caller, that all those government officials who are going to Chris Anu's TV and being interviewed and talking there, they are not loyal to this interim government, because the interim government has a television station called ABC. I don't see why a member of government will be invited by an activist to come and chantise the government on that television station. That government official is not loyal to this interim government. Unless that government official is as stupid as some people I know, he should not go to any TV station owned by an activist, whether it's Chris Anu or Nanchop or whatever television, the third one that comes up. You have a government television and that's where you belong if you are a member of this government. If you choose to be going and discussing government issues on an activist television station who is insulting the government every day, well, that is a choice you have made, and it shows your disloyalty to this government. I am not passing judgment on anybody. I am making a statement of fact, because 2 television stations are for the activists and 1 television station is the government television, where all members of government, whatever you want to say, you come to the government television after you have been invited by ABC directorate or news anchor, or anybody invites you. I have been appearing on ABC television because Chris Anu was kept inviting me. So if you want to be invited by Chris Anu, who has fallen out with the government and is determined to destroy this interim government and its leadership, well, you have made your choice. You are no longer loyal to the government that you serve. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the problem you have explained very well, sir. The issue there is the fact that it is an outlet that is used for antagonistic propaganda of the interim government. Please, Amazonians, we're not taking any more calls. We've come to the end of this program, and I would like the spokesperson to give a closing remark before we sign off.
My dear Ambazonians, my dear compatriots, the restoration forces, I salute all of you, especially the restoration forces who are laying down their lives so that we can be free. We salute you and we honor you. The interim government greets you and will continue to encourage you, and will put all the material that are humanly available so that you can defend our fatherland and our people who are being killed every day, especially our children going to school and coming back from school. They are being slaughtered every day. And we hope that you will continue to defend our people and defend the motherland so that we can achieve independence, our sovereignty. We have independence, we need the sovereignty right now so that we can achieve that and get to Boya. And that's where governing starts. And all of you who are fighting now, just know that you are part of the National Army of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Thank you very much for your service. Thank you very much, Ambazonians and dear compatriots, for listening to me this evening. We have a fight in our hand, and that is AFCON in Victoria, and we must come through. Thank you very much.
Fellow Amazonians, thank you all for watching. We will be having some announcements that the spokesperson might be coming up in the upper hours, maybe over the weekend or early next week. As the days unfold, we will come back to you with details. On that note, it is good night and bye-bye.
This is the People's Television, Ambazonia Broadcasting Corporation. The voice of the voiceless. Bringing the state of the struggle on your fingertips. Unmasking the genocide in Ambazonia. Reporting first-hand untold stories from Africa. Donate to ABC Amba TV every day. We the people must control the narrative. Internationalize the struggle, keep Ground Zero abreast and win the war. Cash App 240-486-8768. Hashtag $AmboABC. Zelle, donations at ambazoniafoundation.org. PayPal, support@abcambat.com. Thank you.
Don't you hate it when that happens to you? When it does, you need this, and this, and this. When it happens to me, I always know where to go. When you've got professionals on your side, your problems don't stand a chance. What are you waiting for? Contact them today and let them take care of your problems.